All right. Well, thanks everybody for taking time out of your evening to join us today for this first public town hall by the Lubbock Compact. My name is Nicholas Bergfeld. I'm enormously excited that you're joining us today to hear about the Lubbock Compact from the Compact's governing board and its members. It's been an incredible journey to be a part of this and to see so many talented and passionate individuals that have played roles in the journey that we've been on. What it is that we can achieve together is incredibly great and bright. The people that you'll hear from today are individuals that represent this optimistic future and vision for what Lubbock can be if we are able to move forward together. And so I want us to be able to jump into the conversation quickly. And first want to acknowledge some of our board members that are with us today. So our board president, PERLA SOSA, is here with us, as well as our treasurer, Robert Baxter, and our secretary, Jafar Abdullah. We also have Adam Hernandez, Joshua Shankles, and Natalie Ayers, who are also here joining us for this town hall. And so you'll get an opportunity to hear from them, their passion and drive and interest for the Lubbock Compact and what their vision is for us as we move forward through question and answers and discussion as we move along. But that's all that I wanted to say for the time being, is just to thank you for this time. I'm excited about the conversations we're about to have. Please feel free to put questions in the comment boxes or raise your hand, or however you would like to indicate that you'd like to say something. Feel free to send those as messages, and we'll address those as the conversation goes along. I'd like to now to direct this over to Natalie Ayers. I know she's got, it seems like her connectivity is good. So I'll ask her if she wants to jump in to talk about the introduction for the Lubbock Compact and how it was formed. Natalie, if your connection isn't too good, we've got Adam Hernandez on standby to chat as well.
Yes, I'm in Mississippi. It's a little windy, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Adam.
Okay. Okay, yeah, no problem. So how the Lubbock Compact was formed was basically off of a report that was written by Nicholas called the Lubbock Disparity Report. And it's basically just a lot of data behind the scenes of things that people from Lubbock who have lived here for a really long time or all their lives have kind of already seen and noticed and talked about. And it just kind of provided the data behind that to kind of show us all that we're not crazy. We haven't been crazy this whole time when we've been talking about this stuff. And so what are we talking about? We're talking about how kind of over time the city has moved further and further southwest, like in a southwest direction. And the further it moves southwest, the more decayed the other parts of Lubbock become. And of course, those of us that are from North and East Lubbock, like where I'm from, we know growing up through that East Lubbock and North Lubbock have always been ignored when it comes to any sort of funding or help from the city to revitalize or anything of that nature. So we kind of have those two problems going on at the same time. And so what the report kind of tells us is that, in a nutshell, is that basically tax dollars from all over the city have been put into this fund called the Gateway Fund, which that money comes from when you pay your LP&L bill, Atmos bill, Suddenlink, all these different types of utilities. And so everybody's money goes in this pot, and in 2005, City Council and others decided to take it upon themselves to, without a vote, take that money and direct it to building out Milwaukee and Southwest Lubbock, and then everything that came after that off of Milwaukee. And so what they did was they also took on debt to make that happen. And so they're continuing to use everybody's tax dollars until 2025 to pay down all that debt. So if that doesn't make you a little upset, I really don't know what will, but that's pretty much the gist of why we're all here. And so that's just kind of the short summary. I'll go into what brought me in on this thing and kind of how we got where we are now. So the report came out on June 12th. I saw it in the LASER group, the Lubbock Activists Striving to End Racism group. And so I kind of quickly read the summary. I knew exactly what it was when I started to read the summary. So I didn't get to actually read it until Tuesday the 16th. And there just so happened to be a coffee with the mayor going on June 17th, which was a Wednesday. So I printed it out and read it. I was pretty upset by that. I showed up to the coffee with the mayor. Me and Miss Natalie also had it printed out and ready to go. And the meeting pretty quickly went left because I had never met the mayor. I had never seen him interact with people. I had never talked to him at all. But I figured if he had seen this and he's the mayor, it kind of should upset him as well, or it should concern him at least. And so I just wanted to go get some answers, see if he had read it, see what he would say about it. And so I believe, was that you, Josh, that said the first question at that coffee with the mayor?
I don't think it was me, but I think I was the one that kind of tipped him off to that it wasn't going to go well for him.
Right. So Josh mentioned the report, and the way he kind of downplayed it was just an instant red flag for me. He said it wasn't well researched. And if you look at the entire report, there's really no way anybody can say that. And if you do have that claim, you would need to kind of back it up with your own research and your own data, which is kind of what I had asked him. You know, if he had these concerns that it wasn't legitimate data, then, you know, he should fact check it and let us know with his own data. And it's now been over 2 months and they haven't done that. So it just really went left, kind of went Lubbock viral because it was being live streamed on Facebook, and then the video got shared afterwards. So that's kind of what kind of blew everything up and to where everybody started seeing everything. And then pretty quickly, I think by that weekend, the Facebook group started getting formed. So I immediately joined that just because I wanted to see, like, what are we doing? What's the next move? What can we do? Because also inside the report, there's some actual steps that can be taken to kind of fix some of these things that are going on. So that's kind of what brought me into the compact, and then we had formed as a official organization. And so that's how we're here now. And the panelists today are actually on the board with me. These are all amazing people, and I tell them all the time I'm probably the least qualified of this whole board. They've done some amazing things, and so yeah, that's kind of what brought us here today. And I guess I'll hand it off to Josh. You want to kick things off as far as what brought you in and kind of what some things you're working on within the compact?
Sure. Honestly, what happened for me was that the death of George Floyd, like, really struck at my heart, you know, and I was kind of casting about at all kinds of things because I felt like I needed to do something. And so I was kind of running the field, and that's when I saw the disparity report. And, you know, I'm a local farmer, and so working in and around the community is something that I've done for a while. And when I saw the report, I was like, oh, you know, here's an obvious thing, and here's a winnable strategy to address it, you know? And so I just kind of immediately tossed all my energies into that. And yeah, went to that first coffee with the mayor, which kind of, it naturally coalesced this group of individuals around the report and our mutual respect and admiration for each other. And so that's kind of how I got involved with this whole team. And since then, we've been, you know, just like Adam said, we've been really running the field on a whole variety of public advocacy, public policy, and community outreach, community building strategies that is, really admirable to see, and also really encouraging to see the momentum of, because it's just been a couple of months and we've really run the tables, I feel like. So yeah, these people that I sit on the board with, I've never been more proud to be associated to a group of people as this set.
Okay, we'll go to Jafar. Jafar, you want to talk about how you came to be with the Lubbock Compact?
Yes, I will surely go. Hello, everyone. My name is Jafar Abdullah. The board members hear this all the time, and so I'll tell you, and then I'll briefly explain, my introduction. I always start out by saying I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, but I was born in Compton, California. I was raised in Lubbock. Right? Whenever I go outside of city of Lubbock, I never tell anyone the part about being raised in Lubbock. The reason why is because I've always, being truthful and transparent with you all, I'm ashamed to be from Lubbock, to be born and raised, or to be raised in Lubbock. And the reason why is that anytime that you go outside of Lubbock and outside of Texas, the first, question is like, Lubbock, where is that at, right? And that's not a big deal. I can explain its geographical location. The second thing people usually say is, oh, wow, why do you live there, right? You're educated and you have some opportunities. Why would you live there, right? And for a while, I'm like, man, I don't know, right? And so there's some great things about Lubbock, but there are also some large, huge problems, right? And so now I've changed my perspective, and I look at it as being opportunities for change. And so now that, I'm grown and I have a family, my children live in Lubbock, right? And I want them to live in a progressive Lubbock. I don't want people to say, oh, you live in Lubbock? Man, I heard it's really conservative there, right? And there's nothing wrong with being conservative. There is something wrong with having a geographically segregated city. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with a large majority of our schools failing. There's something wrong when I go to the east side or I go to the north side and I see just run down, homes, and I see, dilapidated areas. And so I want it to be a part of the change. And I want it to be a part of the beautification of East Lubbock, right? And even, I'm tired of even saying East Lubbock. I'm tired of saying North Lubbock. It should be an inclusive Lubbock, When friends say, oh, what part of Lubbock do you live on? That shouldn't be a question. It should only be where do you live, right? Not what part. I have colleagues at Texas Tech and at other universities, and if they're not familiar with Lubbock, I'll always have to combat the negative connotation that is attached to the east side, right, as well as the north side. They're like, especially, man, my African American friends, right, my associates, like, where's a good place to get a haircut? Oh, on the east side. Oh, well, I was told not to go over there. Well, why? Who told you that? Why? Right? Let's go over. And I always challenge them, hey, let's go get food, or let's go to a barbershop or something like that. And once they're there and they're entrenched in that community, they feel the love of the community. They realize that it's a beautiful community with a beautiful group of people, with intelligent kids. And so I want everyone to know what the real Lubbock is. And I want people to know the potential that Lubbock has. It doesn't have to be a town that's controlled by the good old boys. It can be a town that's included. We don't have to say I'm from East Lubbock. We can say I'm from Lubbock without being ashamed, right? And so it's on us to address the problems and the opportunities, and to band together and to unite. Lubbock Compact is not a monolithic organization, right? We have different strategies. We have different opinions on things. Many of us have different politics, right? But we all understand what the problems are, what the opportunities are, and we bound together to fix some of those problems and opportunities.
Great, thanks, Jafar. Natalie, did you want to say some words, or?
I would try my best, you all. I pulled over because this is so important. Lubbock Compact is jam-packed with individuals from all walks of Lubbock, regardless of our educational background, our nationality, sexual orientation, who believe that all communities should be treated equally in terms of having those essentials, banks, infrastructure, rooftops, great school systems. So what I love most about Lubbock Impact is it's people who are, it was basically a grassroots movement. People who it's of course stem from, as Adam mentioned, Coffee with the Mayor, and with Nicholas's great report. That was what he did was he articulated what we all knew and we all saw. If you were to drive from South Lubbock to East Lubbock, unless you just could, was unable to see or visualize, you saw the disparity. So it was basically a grassroots movement of folks who said, you know what, we're done talking, we're going to do something about it. So that's the beauty of Lubbock Compact. It's just a grassroots movement of people just getting ready for action to do some things that are different and positive in Lubbock.
Great, thanks, Natalie. Perla, did you want to try again?
Sorry about that. I have no idea what's going on today. But so where I was at, basically I started that little Facebook page, and the North Lubbock Neighborhood Association invited me to their meeting. And so at that point, Nick was actually in attendance, and he was the guest speaker, and he educated us on the disparity report and all the things that have been set in motion as far back as the 20s, guys. Like, I had no idea. I thought things were just this way because they were just this way. Like, my neighborhood backs up to all this industrial stuff, and that's just how it was. There was no choice. I didn't know. I always was like, oh, well, we're surrounded by train tracks and we're so, cut off. And I thought it was a good thing until, Nick started talking, and I'm like, why have I never questioned these things before? Why has it always been a given that this is just the way that it is? No, this is not the way that it is. This is not the way that it has to be. And so as soon as I heard Nick talk, I was like, no, I am fully on board, and I have to figure out a way to help and make change for not my children, but my children's children.
Thanks. Okay, so just to kind of let everybody know some things that are immediately happening, some things that we can do if you want to be involved. Also, I forgot to mention, put your comments down in the chat, and we're gonna have a Q&A here in a minute. So any question you have, nothing's gonna be a dumb question. This is all new to a lot of people. I don't even fully understand the whole technical side. I can talk to you about it and what it means, but we do have people on here that have the more technical knowledge if we need to break things down even further. So just go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get to all of those. So big thing coming up on Wednesday, September 2nd, which is next Wednesday. Excuse me. Yes, next Wednesday at 5 p.m. there's a public hearing on the budget at City Council. That is in the Citizens Tower. Is that what that, right? Yes, in Citizens Tower. So that's Wednesday, September 2nd at 5 p.m. This is the City Council is going to be allowing people to do public comments ahead of this meeting. It's to discuss the budget. So the big things that are kind of time sensitive right now that we're kind of advocating for are for the city to actually honor neighborhood action plans that they've already agreed to in 2018 in what's called the 2040 land use plan. And so this has already been agreed to. They just haven't moved on it. They haven't put any effort at all towards it. So we're advocating for that because as pretty much everybody expressed, those two areas of town are in a lot of need. And the report kind of goes into a lot more depth of why that is. It's a really long story, so I won't keep everybody with that. But so we're advocating for that. The other thing we're advocating to be in the budget, and this is the 2020-2021 budget, so we're asking for that to be included. We're also asking for 2 analysis to be done that will basically tell us as a city, where are the tax dollars coming from and where are they going? And that's the first one is the comprehensive fiscal impact analysis. And the second one, what's the second one? The name of it?
Scenario-based planning analysis.
Scenario-based, there you go. Scenario-based cost analysis, correct? Okay, yeah. So basically what the comprehensive fiscal analysis does is tell us where are the tax dollars coming from, where are they going. The other one lets us know what is the impact of Lubbock's current growth strategy versus changing that strategy and doing some of these things that are suggested in the Lubbock Disparity Report. And so we have been advocating for those. The response that we had gotten from the mayor personally, as far as the next coffee with the mayor he just did at Amigos, which I believe was last Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this was also, these two analyses were agreed to in the 2040 land use plan. In 2018, they just haven't done them, and they actually gave themselves 5 years to do them. So they want everybody to wait another 5 years to figure out where your money is going, basically. So we think that's unacceptable. So we're actually calling for that to be in the 2020-2021 budget. And we're actually going to have a form up on the website. This will be up tomorrow, and we'll announce it in the Facebook group, both the group and on the Facebook page, Lubbock Compact. So all of y'all can go, if you haven't already, like the Lubbock Compact page on Facebook. So we'll announce that when it's up, but it'll be a form to where you can basically just put in your name and stuff. And it's an already a pre-filled form, so you don't have to remember all this stuff I'm telling you. Or you can look at it and kind of modify it your own way, however you feel you want to do it. So that way you can get involved that way by actually emailing the city council. And then also people can get involved by going to the public hearing on September 2nd, on Wednesday, September 2nd. And if you want to make a public comment, you'll have to show up just a little early. I think they said it's like you have to make it before 15 minutes early or something like that, I believe was what they said last time. They do say that you're supposed to like put your name on a form. Last time they didn't have us do that, but they may have you just put your name on a form just saying that you want to speak. If you feel comfortable doing that. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can still show up as just support, to be there with your presence. That helps just to show them that, it's not just this small group of people that care about this. There's more of us there. So you can do that. And so those are some pretty immediate things that we have. And really the only other two things are please register to vote, and also encourage as many people as you can, particularly young people, because I can guarantee you that Mayor Dan Pope and the rest of these city council people don't even look at these 18-year-old young adults as young adults. They just think of them as kids, as they're non-existent. They're actually probably going to go over votes that are like 30 plus, which is fine. But, if we're going to shake some things up, we need the numbers. And young people are actually more involved in that than I remember being at their age. My daughter's 16 and she already wishes she could vote, but I wasn't anywhere thinking like that. So they do want to get involved, and they want to know what they can do. So if they ask you that, tell them, well, if you're 18, you can register to vote, and help us shake some things up that way, because really the only recourse we have if they just keep wanting to do their own thing is we just have to vote them out of there. So that's a big thing. The last thing I'll talk about really quick, and then I'll hand it off to Q&A, is we will have a petition coming up, and this is involving impact fees. I won't talk about that because it's going to go a little long, but we can explain that once we have that initiative going. It's going to be starting here pretty soon as well. So we're basically going to be submitting our own citizens ordinance to the city council to vote on, because the CAC committee is actually trying to go with the status quo, and they ignored 93 public comments from people from every single district of Lubbock. So we're really trying to make sure everybody's heard. We're trying to make sure that they really consider this the way they should consider it, and hopefully they'll do the right thing. But yeah, so those are some pretty immediate things we can do. And then of course, if you just follow the Lubbock Compact page on Facebook, or if you visit the website, which is just lubbockcompact.com, you can find out all the information. It's really easy to kind of access on the website. They did a really good job with that. It's really simple. It's not too complicated. There's also a short version on the website of the Lubbock Disparity Report, because the report itself is like 47 pages. And so, you know, if you just want to kind of quickly get up to speed before you're able to read the whole thing, there's a quick synopsis. That's like a couple of pages or something that you can kind of look through, and it'll give you the summary of all those things, and then the more details in the actual full report with the graphs and all of that. So I guess at this time I'll hand it over to Jafar. He's going to kind of be fielding the questions. I guess those are in the chat.
Been fielding questions in the chat. I know that somebody asked about the when the votes on the impact fees will come up, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the actual date is a little bit squishy at this stage, because where they're at on that is that the committee has voted on all their recommendations, and so right now they are creating their recommendations letter and the ordinance to go along with it, and that will go before City Council, and then it has to get 2 public readings and comments on it, and then the City Council can vote. So our best guesstimate is middle to late October. Is that about right? Yeah. Middle to late October when that will come up. And if you've been working on that work with us, I just want to say thank you big time on that. The public comments have been so incredible, and we couldn't have done all of that without you. And we're sorry you had to do such wonky policy work with all the rest of us, but it really paid off big time. So to all of you that made public comment and then made those public comments available for us, I really thank you.
Oh, Mari Huerta wants us to talk about, she wants us just to shout out her 2020 Census Parade on Saturday. That's with the North Lubbock Neighborhood Association. So everybody go and support that. I believe that's a caravan, a car caravan. Perla, you know a little bit about that, right?
Yes, it's starting here at Aswan Park, and it's going to make its way, I think, past First Street. There's a map we can share later on. I don't remember if I think I shared it. I don't remember anymore, but it's going to pass over the little overpass heading towards where Mahon Elementary used to be. And then I think it's going to turn left onto Jackson and then head into where the Maggie Trejo Center is in the Arnett Benson. I know Joel's is giving us a 2020 census $5 burrito thing for going. So I think it's like a burrito and a drink and tips or something for $5. Can't beat it. But it's a good way to get involved with the community and start doing stuff. I mean, the census is a big deal. That's how we get money for our schools and for every other thing else that we need. So yeah, if you want to get involved there, and just put it in the chat. But it is starting here at 10 o'clock at Aswan Park.
Jafar, are you able to see the Q&A? It's down, there's like the little 3-dot menu thingy.
Yes, and so we have a question from Alexis Cornades. Apologies if I butchered your name at all. Mine get butchered as well. Problem with abatements are impact fees. What is being voted on? In what capacity will we be able to impact by voting? Will City Council be able to go forward without our opinions? That's a good one. I'm gonna give that one to Nick. Nick, do you wanna tackle that one for us, Nick?
Yeah, happy to. You know, so the challenges with impact fees. The first one is really that currently we don't have them, right? So many cities our size, they have an impact fee structure. Now, what are they? They are a way for cities to charge developers for some, not all, but some of the costs that it takes for a city to connect their new subdivisions to the rest of our city. And so if you don't have impact fees, effectively your city, your current citizens are on the hook for paying for all of the infrastructure, the connectivity, the roads, the utilities necessary for new development to happen. Now, for a long time, that was okay because the cost of doing that and the property taxes you would get in exchange would be good enough. The reason why impact fees exist is because in the modern era, growth doesn't pay for growth. And so by forcing your older neighborhoods, and in Lubbock, oftentimes the older the neighborhood, the greater the likelihood it's a Hispanic or Black community neighborhood. Now what is happening is those neighborhoods are having to pay for the creation of these new roads, these new utilities for communities that have no connectedness to the rest of them. And so what the city is currently voting for is to set these fees across the city, and they're allowed to set them at different amounts for different parts of the city, and they're allowed to give certain decreases or incentives for different types of construction. Now, currently, our challenge is that the committee who is recommending these things to the city to vote on is effectively controlled by the special interest groups that want the city to continue to expand to the south and the southwest, not because it's good for us, because we actually know it's very expensive, but because it makes them a lot of profit. And they want to be able to continue to have their profit being subsidized by the citizens of Lubbock. So what is now happening in that process, this special interest group committee, which the official title for it is the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee, it's a long name, but they are currently going through the process of creating a recommendation for the city. The city has to receive the recommendation. That's something the state of Texas says the city must do to have impact fees. But then after that, the city is allowed to make its own determinations about what those impact fees are. So the recommendations that this committee makes, the city doesn't necessarily have to follow through with them. They can set their own rates and their own fees. So that's kind of where we are in this process, is that special interest group committee is meeting for the last time on September 17th to vote on their final recommendations. The city then has to wait for 30 days before they can act on them. And so then that's why we think this process will happen sometime mid-late October is when the city council will take up the issue. And that's when the city can determine whether or not they want to have those recommendations or do their own thing. So what we're trying to do is to tell them, do right by our citizens, make sure that these new neighborhoods carry their own weight when it comes to the cost of building them, and change the recommendations that the SEAC committee is doing whenever you're making your ordinance, is what we're essentially talking to and saying to the city council, and what our process and what we've been advocating for is continuing on. So
okay, just real quick, Nicholas, sorry. I'll just add to that before I send it back over to Jafar, because they said, in what capacity will we be able to impact by voting? And will city council be able to go forward without opinion? So basically, as far as voting, that would kind of be something to do in the future once we see how this all plays out. You know, if the current city council decides to, I guess, side with us, if you want to call it that, then, you know, everybody can make their own determination. But if they don't, they just want to do their own thing, regardless of what anybody says, then we can also make a determination there as far as voting in this upcoming election. But as far as voting to actually impact their decision on the impact fees, we can't. But we have submitted as many of the public comments that we could get. We had them transcribed, and we've submitted those to city council along with a letter explaining our concerns about the current recommendations of SEAC, because on top of ignoring all 93 public comments, they gave themselves discounts as well. And so there's a lot of issues in there. And so we submitted that letter to them. So we've kind of done that in the meantime. But the next thing that we can do about that is showing up to that public hearing and either giving a public comment or just showing up as a presence to be there in solidarity So that's pretty much what we can do. And yes, they can go forward without our opinions, but then they'll just need to face the consequences about that in this upcoming election.
Kind of streamlining into the next question by Tracy. And Jim, we're going to get to yours as well. Tracy's is kind of on the same topic. If the city council ignores our comments about impact fees, what will be our next step?
And that's basically, you know, what we've done is actually submitted those comments. So if they, you know, if they ignore them, and they just go, you know, full steam ahead and they just pass it how the SEAC has it right now, you know, we can try to appeal that by a citizen petition as well. But that would kind of be our next recourse on that, other than, you know, voting them out of there.
Do you mind if I jumped in on this? You know, we sent all of the public comments that we could get transcribed, and a letter that we composed that was dismantling a lot of the arguments that we know that they are going to present to justify something that is not justifiable, to the city council, to make sure that they couldn't act like they hadn't seen this. And indeed, when we went to the coffee with the mayor, any of you that might have been there, you know, he said himself, like, oh, we haven't been watching the meetings of SEAC because that would be, you know, inappropriate for us to be, you know, involved like that, which is also ridiculous because they're so deeply tied to the development community in this town that they're already super involved. So it's an absurd argument, but we wanted to make sure that nobody on the city council could say they hadn't seen everybody's public comment, and that we got ahead. The strategy was to get ahead of what the recommendations are from the SEAC committee are going to be and make those as unpalatable as possible. But Adam is absolutely right. We're already working on even a third wing of this strategy, which involves a citizen petition, which would allow us to either repeal the enacted ordinance or propose our own enacted ordinance, or even, and correct me if I'm wrong here, enact our own ordinance against the wishes of the city council. So we are looking at all of those options.
Right, and just real quick, that's kind of what I was talking about with the citizens ordinance that we're going to be passing a petition around for pretty quickly. So that's kind of one of the things we're actually doing that we can do.
Thank you guys for that. Our next question is from Jim Beck, which is an amazing question. Alexis, your question was amazing as well for that. Jim, his question is as follows. We are 2.5 years away from the 100-year anniversary of the 1923 Red Line Ordinance. Is there any conversation or strategic plans to use that date as an anchor date to push for real acknowledgement of Lubbock historically racist past and action responses? That is a historically shameful date and could be potential for power advocacy. Just really shortly, and I'll pass this along. Jim, that is an amazing question and statement. Thank you for that. And what's funny about that is we have had a really tough time. In fact, it's been impossible to get the mayor to even acknowledge the racist history of Lubbock, right? He simply will not acknowledge it. He will dance around it every time. And so I do think that it's important for us to continue to pose questions, statements, and acknowledge the racist past of history, of Lubbock's history. If we don't acknowledge the past, then we're bound to repeat it, right? And a lot of the things like Nicholas said, we haven't addressed the issues that began in the 20s and 30s and 40s, right? And so if we never address those things, then it'll continue to take place. Does anyone want to take another shot at this one as well?
I'll just add that that's a great idea. And I vote that we do something. So I'm pretty sure everybody's in agreement, and that's actually really good. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jim. as far as my understanding, we didn't have anything set up for that, but after this meeting, we will. We will. And so we would love to hear your suggestions on that, everyone's suggestions on how that should look and take place, because I do think that that is a very important date as well.
If I may just add, one of the things that was mentioned to the mayor was to not make some changes to what we know is historically racist, is to say that you agree with that. So being in the position that he's in, he has an obligation to right that wrong, irregardless of how long ago it took place. We are still facing the residuals of that racist practice. So thank you, Jim. That's an absolutely great a suggestion, and it needs to be changed. Absolutely.
Thank you again for that great question and statement. We have a short question from Alexis. What have we found as the best avenue to spread the word?
I'll take that one. Pretty much just talk about it with anybody that'll listen. Pretty much, you know, just if you haven't read the report or if you haven't read the synopsis of what the Lubbock Disparity Report is talking about, it's good to maybe read that short version just so you kind of know, and then just kind of tell everybody about it. You know, we, of course, like Facebook, Instagram, all of your social medias is a good way to spread the word about it. And, you know, just continue, like, to make it a lot easier on yourself, you can just send people to LubbockCompact.com because it's kind of like all there in a really digestible format. So, yeah, so just, I mean, kind of how you spread the word about everything. Just keep talking about it, keep bringing it up, and then just keep staying engaged and making your voice heard in the whole situation.
Thank you for that, Adam. The next one, question that we had, let's see. Can you talk about some of the specific recommendations the Lubbock Compact has already suggested and offered to the council? That's the first part. The second part was also, will Lubbock Compact be presenting their own suggested rates and fees with explanation of how you came up with these suggested rates?
I can take that a little bit. And also, I think we missed one, Jafar. Danielle had a question also. I think it went to the answered slot somehow. But I'll take that question. So yeah, so some of the specific recommendations that we're making is maximum impact fees in service areas A, F, and E, which service areas in Lubbock are split up by the roads. And so, you know, certain sections of roads are in section A and so on. So sections A, F, and E are what we're referring to as Southwest Lubbock. We're asking for maximum fees there and no impact fees of any kind in the rest of Lubbock, because what this does is, first of all, it takes a step to correct something. So I know that something that's come up quite a lot is the SEAC has mentioned it. I've heard City Council echo the same thing about picking, you know, we can't pick winners and losers, right? Problem with that is that Jim Beck just told you that. We're 2.5 years away from the 100-year anniversary of Jim Crow law being instituted in Lubbock, and they've had plenty of opportunities, the most recent, most major one in 2018, to start to correct some of that, and they chose not to. And so because of that, we're still dealing with the effects of that. So that was a wrong. That was picking winners. And so it's not negative to now make people, you know, pay for that or pay their own way, you know, even. So that's the reason why we're asking for maximum fees in that area, because what it does is those impact fees stay in that area, which is true, but then that releases money from that pot that we can use for other things instead of it going over to Southwest Lubbock. So that's kind of what the reasoning is behind that. And so let me see, how did we come up with that? Yeah, that's pretty much how we came up with it. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hernandez. I'm sorry, Miss East, I'll get back to yours, which is a great question. Thank you for asking that question. I was waiting on that one. What are the top 3 goals outside of focusing on impact fees for the Lubbock Compact? And I'll say just a bit, and I'll let the expert Josh kind of chime in on that as well. I'm not professional gardener at all. Josh is. But growing up in Compton, California, I had some disciplinary issues growing up, right? And my grandmother, to help me focus, she would have me garden with her in her backyard. And working it with LISD, with small kids, I had an opportunity to work at an amazing campus they changed the name, referred to it as Project. It was once Intercept. It's Priority Intervention Academy now, PIA. I had an opportunity to work there. Amazing student body, really great administration. And one thing that I really loved about that campus is that they had gardening, right? And so I'm actually with the kids, and we're gardening, and we're talking about the kids having these in their own communities, right? We're talking about them being able to provide, we talk a lot about being assets versus a liability, right? And if you're a young guy and you're 15 years old and you're the man of the house, right? You want to be able to provide something, and you want to be responsible. And so we want our young men and our young ladies to be able to be assets to their families. And that's an amazing way that you can be an asset, just starting community gardens, right? And so you take that old vacant lot that's across the street, right, that's been there for some time, and that's what we're looking to do. We are looking to purchase those lots, right? We do not want those lots to go outside of our community. We do not want gentrification in our community. We want beautiful spaces in our community, and that's one way that we can start to create those beautiful spaces in our community. Sorry, I took too much time. Josh, please give us the expert opinion on that.
No, it wasn't too much time. It's beautifully spoken. Really, just to package this up nice and tidy, at the same time that this organization is working really hard on holding the city to account for its obligations and promises, for historic wrongs, for just a good measured accounting of where money goes and where it comes from. All of that work is to see a hopeful vision for Lubbock, and we absolutely think that's a possibility. We're working on a lot of initiatives in that area, but the one that I'm most excited about and we can get traction on the fastest is this Garden City component of this, which is all work designed to add more green space into Lubbock. It is so important for human health, for the satisfaction of people in their neighborhoods, and for the environmental health of communities. So we're really excited to do work in that area. But a lot of people ask us, like, how can I get involved right now? And the thing that you should know is that right now there exists a lot of community gardens in our city that would absolutely love your help and volunteering. Specifically, Heart of Lubbock, which is in the Heart of Lubbock neighborhood and kind of at 19th and University. The Volunteer Garden, Booker T. Washington Community Garden, which is off of Avenue A, and the garden at the Lubbock Dream Center, as well as the Food Bank's Garden and Orchard, are all existing public garden infrastructure that we would love to encourage you to tap into. You can message their Facebook page. They're all ran by people who welcome your activity. And so there's an immediate and public way that we can see these green spaces, which are so important to us, be fully resourced and taken care of. And if anybody's in attendance here who's been working on that already, I thank you for it. I've seen lots of wonderful momentum at these gardens already. And so that's very encouraging to see their future become ever more secure. At the same time, we have an intermediate strategy to purchase trees and increase Lubbock's tree canopy cover. you know, you don't need me to tell you Lubbock is too hot. We have a gigantic urban heat island that's actually exacerbated by development in Southwest Lubbock in the general sprawl of the city. And the best way to counteract that is to get more tree cover in our town. So we are working on initiatives right now to secure trees and distribute them throughout neighborhoods who are partners. And in the coming year to apply for a matching grant to really get us some traction in this area where we could distribute upwards of 3,500 trees. So there's a intermediate term goal that we have. And then to tap back into some of the suggestions in the disparity report, some of the exciting things that happen in communities right next to us. Amarillo budgets $500,000 or more per neighborhood for them to budget out things that they want for their community. And it's a really interesting model of democratizing the budgetary process into communities. And so we're working on plans as we speak to create a gardens menu and have plans tailored to Lubbock and budgets that would go along with those, and kind of a playbook built out so that among the things that neighborhoods, you know, as we advocate for this plan for the city to strengthen neighborhood associations and give them budget to actually work in their neighborhood, we are presenting this gardens menu as a component of that neighborhoods could establish if it's something that they want. And we'd like to model that by creating some model gardens around the city so that they can see what this would actually look like in the community, and we can model out the process to secure those spaces and turn them into an asset for communities.
Cool.
I
Josh,
should say, you know,
Josh, real quick, sorry, thanks. Yeah, sorry, we're running like a little over time. Yeah, so
just go to the website. You'll find more information there. That was my
so real quick, I just wanted Natalie maybe to spend like maybe a minute or so kind of saying what kind of some goals that you see coming from the compact, and then we'll go into PERLA's closing real quick. Unless you don't have anything you want to add.
Yeah, just real quick. So thank you all for your comments and for joining us tonight. It was really important that I was a part of this because it's great to see such passionate people. We pulled over in Mississippi on our way back to Texas because I had to show my sons that when you make a commitment, you have to stand by that commitment. So just, if you have not liked the Lubbock Compact's page, like it, get involved. There's so many other people who want to be a part of this movement. This is not a moment, this is a movement for some serious changes in Lubbock, and we can't do it without your help. So thank all of y'all for just participating. Let other people know, and again, go and like the page, and thank y'all for being patient with me.
Thanks. And PERLA, Mrs. President, will close us out.
So I just want to share really quick. I know not that much about everything. I was kind of just, you know, working, come home. I was trusting that the people that we elected to make these changes and to care for us, and that they were going to make intelligent decisions and what was in the best interest of the communities. I trusted that that's what was happening, and you know, that's actually not happening. We're trying to make a change. It's time now. Like Natalie said, this is not a moment, this is a movement. We need all of your help. Share the page. Anything that you think that would help in our initiatives, we're open to it. It's time, guys. This is not just for us, this is for our future generations. This is for everybody that comes after us. We have sat by the wayside too long. It's time for us to do something. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and also the budget meeting that is scheduled to happen on September 2nd. Be there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.